Well, good morning. Good morning, everyone. This is the Reverend Jason Van Borsum with St. Mark the Evangelist Anglican Church in Waxahachie, Texas. Good morning. I wanted to offer a reflection this morning. Last evening, we gathered to celebrate the liturgy of evening prayer, and I offered a short homily that is a reflection on the gospel lesson that was appointed for yesterday from Matthew chapter 17. In a portion of that reading, Jesus references mustard, specifically that the disciples must have, or rather, if they just had faith the size of a mustard seed, they could work wonders. Well, that got me thinking, what's all this about mustard in the New Testament? There are 5 or 6 verses in Matthew, Mark, and Luke that talk about mustard seed. Jesus likens the kingdom of God to a mustard seed, talks about faith the size of a mustard seed. So what is all this about mustard? Well, let me get into that just a little bit. The Roman historian Pliny the Elder lived in the 1st century. He wrote, "Mustard, with its pungent taste and fiery effect, is extremely beneficial for the health. It grows entirely wild, though it is improved by being transplanted. But, on the other hand, when it has once been sown, it is scarcely possible to get the place free of it, as the seed, when it falls, germinates immediately." Well, in ancient Jewish writings, the ancient rabbis wrote that because of its tendency to run wild, the planting of mustard seed in a person's garden was forbidden. Not only because it was unsightly, they're not very attractive, kind of scraggly looking, not only because they weren't very aesthetically pleasing, but more to the point, mustard takes over anywhere it is planted. So think of this rabbinic directive as kind of the first homeowners association restriction in history. Jesus would have been aware of this directive about not planting mustard in your garden. It's hard to escape the conclusion that Jesus deliberately likens the reign and rule of God to a weed and commands his disciples to just have faith the size of that teeny tiny mustard seed. The significance of Jesus' parables, his teachings, is not just that the mustard plant starts as a very small seed and grows into a shrub of 5 feet or even higher. The point is that it tends to take over where it is not wanted, that it tends to grow and spread out of control. Mustard plants don't only grow in height, more to the point, they grow in area and spread out widely. And it tends to attract birds within cultivated areas where they are not particularly desired. And that, said Jesus, is what the kingdom of God was like. Not like the mighty cedar of Lebanon, but rather like a pungent shrub with dangerous takeover qualities. Something you would only want in small and carefully controlled doses. That is, if you could even control it. Well, yes, the seed's very small. It is sown in the ground, but so are many seeds very small when they're planted. Many tiny seeds grow into large plants or trees or shrubs. The mighty oak comes from an acorn. So why the mustard seed? Why does Jesus refer to this several times in his teachings? Well, let's look at mustard itself. Is it a favorite of all people? I mean, I like it on hot dogs and German sausage, things like that, but not everybody likes mustard. Really good on a Whataburger. Mustard, perfect on a Whataburger. But not everybody likes mustard. It's not like sugarcane or the seed of a beautiful shade tree, like a maple or an oak, beautiful magnolia. Those would be seeds that might more logically be planted to attract many people to their shade or their fruit. So why the mustard seed? Is it pretty, like roses or crepe myrtles? No, not really. It's not attractive, as I said. It grows like a weed, and it can take over if you don't watch it carefully. The mustard plant is not a great favorite. You won't see it at the Dallas Arboretum, for example. It won't attract many people either for shade or its fruit, or certainly for its scent, and not for its shape. Well, might we infer that the kingdom of God is not what many people are looking for? If we understand the kingdom rightly, with all its implications, might it be something we avoid or ignore or refuse or even fear? We might find that we're not as attracted to the ways of the kingdom of God as we think we are when we idealize it or spiritualize it. So, the kingdom of God and the mustard seed, the mustard plant to which Jesus likens the kingdom, will not be so attractive or desired by all people. Getting back to the physical characteristics of the mustard plant, again, it's not pretty. You don't choose it for its ornamental beauty. You don't plant it as a background in your garden. You can't shape it like a topiary. It's untidy. It's unattractive. It's messy. Has a bedraggled appearance. It sprawls in the garden, and it spreads among the other plants, choking them, taking over. How would it be if the kingdom of God were actually messy and uncontrollable? I think it is, actually. And what if we, as Christians, intentionally and deliberately and really hopefully let God come into our garden? That is the garden of our hearts, the soil in which a tiny speck of faith was planted. Mustard. Well, this has been the Reverend Jason Van Borsum, St. Mark the Evangelist Anglican Church in Waxahachie, Texas. Check us out here on Facebook. Come see us in person if you are in North Texas. We would love to welcome you into our community. St. Mark the Evangelist is historic Christianity in historic Waxahachie. God's peace. God bless you today.